Another peaceful day had passed inside the Pizzaplex, the magical place for kids and grown-ups alike. To you, there had always been something particularly charming yet intriguing about the place. From the futuristic decorations, the flaming hot pizzas, the vast number of arcade machines for any kid of any age to enjoy, it was no wonder why the Pizzaplex was such a crowded space during the day. And of course, who could forget the astonishing, incredibly advanced glam rock animatronics? They were the main attraction of the entire Pizzaplex. They were the reason why people actually went there. The way the animatronics moved, talked to people, expressed themselves. Almost as if they were real people. They all awed whoever saw them. Simply incredible how far technology had come. Although, for some reason, one of those animatronics, Montgomery Gator, had been missing for a couple of days now. The company didn't say anything about it, so no one thought it was anything serious. Maybe he needed some small repairs, but that's all. Everyone expected Monty to come back anytime. Going back to the main topic here, the Pizzaplex was just a sight to behold. You had always wanted to go, but it would be kinda odd seeing some man with a beard on his 30s walking around a place filled with kids all alone. However, that day, you came up with a brilliant idea to infiltrate the place. Dressing up as a janitor. Not only would you perfectly fit in with the rest of the Pizzaplex, but you would also have the entire place all for yourself, since janitors only came in at night. That is why, an hour before the place closed, you entered the main building prepared for the occasion. You had your janitor uniform with all your cleaning products right next to you. You were kinda nervous, since you weren't exactly sure at that moment you were gonna get caught. You went directly towards the bathrooms, hoping no security guard would find you. And just look at that, 2 hours later, the place was all closed and no one had caught you. The plan had worked. You clenched your fists in excitement and immediately got rid of your dirty janitor clothes. It was time to finally explore the Pizzaplex, after all this time. And whoa, you honestly couldn't describe how much of a blast you had while exploring each and every cranny of the place. Being inside there in person was surreal. You had only seen this place from advertisements and channel blogs. Your favorite place, hands down, was Monty's Gator Golf. You really didn't know why, but you felt this strange, weird connection to that place. Seeing all that Monty imagery around made you feel at home, for some odd reason. Anyways, after approximately 2 hours, you were about to head back to your original spot, when you came across the entrance to the Glam Rocks rooms. Your heart was racing. How amazing would seeing the animatronics in person be? You jumped in without any hesitation. You knew the animatronics were probably resting inside their own separate rooms. After all, they didn't normally roam around the Pizzaplex at night when no one was around. So imagine the trouble you would get into were you to wake them up. Waking them up, however, that's when you remembered something, or someone to be more precise. Montgomery Gator. You were aware people hadn't seen him in a few days, and you were kinda curious to see Monty's state. Perhaps he was inactive, unlike the other animatronics, and this was the only chance you had to see him in person. You muster up all the courage you had at that moment and enter Monty's bedroom, expecting to see the actual animatronic. But sadly, that was not the case. The room was empty. Well, not entirely true. It still has Monty's belongings and stuff lying around the room, including his iconic electric guitar, but no trace of the animatronic Gator. Despite that, you couldn't deny how cool it was to be in Monty's room. And boy, were you gonna make the most out of it. You thought of all sort of things. But before you could even start, something not so fortunate happened.
What is this? Who are you?
Hearing that robotic voice all of a sudden made you jump. You slowly turned your head to see a towering figure standing right in front of you. And quite frankly, you couldn't believe who it was. Standing in front of you, was none other than Glam Rock Freddy. Looks like you made too much noise and woke him up. You weren't expecting Glam Rock Freddy to suddenly appear and jump scare you like that. Not now, as the two of you were now in Monty's bedroom. That is when you realized you messed up big time.
Scanning complete. Your profile is unknown to me. You don't seem to be lost to me. What are you doing in Monty's room? What are you doing in the Pizzaplex at this time? Everyone has left. Are you an intruder?
You tried to calm down as fast as possible, with no avail. You couldn't believe Freddy was directly talking to you. But you had to reply to Freddy as soon as possible. You didn't like how he had called you an intruder. Technically, he was not wrong, but you didn't want him to get the wrong idea. You only wanted to explore the place, you didn't mean any harm whatsoever. You explained everything to Freddy, from who you were, to why and how you had infiltrated the place, but most importantly, how you didn't mean to bother him or anyone else. Freddy listened to everything you had to say, acknowledging your words and your feelings. You were simply too excited to say in the Mega Pizzaplex. Once you were done explaining,
I think I can understand how you feel. It's not easy to feel neglected like that, but at the same time, infiltrating the Pizzaplex when everyone is gone is deeply selfish. You are still an intruder to me, and I am programmed to stop you.
Once said that, Freddy looked around Monty's bedroom, lost in thought. And then back at you again.
Although, I think we can sort of work this out. After all, you are still an intruder, and unauthorized personnel will be detained, but I believe you can be put to good use.
Before you could make sense of Freddy's last flat sentences, he closed his distance between you two. He put one of his iron hands on one of your shoulders, while he wrapped the other one around your torso. And just when you were about to ask him what he was doing, Freddy lifted you off the ground, and began pushing you against his chest with his two arms wrapped around you. Almost as if he were hugging you. You struggled, trying to escape the strange embrace. But Glam Rock Freddy had a tight grip on you, and he was not letting you go that easily. Feeling Freddy's metallic chest was rather odd, but weirdly comfortable. It was cold, but not cold enough. Think of it as the cold side of your pillow. Seeing Glam Rock Freddy was already surreal, but him seemingly hugging you, but why was he doing that though? That is when you suddenly start falling asleep due to the pressure of Freddy's hug. You struggled once again, now aware of Freddy's intentions, before failing once again and falling asleep in Freddy's arms. After what seemed to feel like a few hours, you finally woke up. This was all pretty confusing. Where were you? You looked around your environment. The room you were in was dominated by mechanical equipment, including workbenches, tools, and various animatronic parts scattered around. The walls were made of metallic or concrete, although with some tinted glasses around, so you could more or less see what was outside. Almost seemed like you were in some sort of dome. The lighting was dim, with occasional flickering bulbs, casting ominous shadows that made the area feel very eerie and unsafe. You tried to move, but you gasped in surprise as you realized you were strapped to a metallic table, with black bands across your arms, legs, and chest. You stutter in surprise as you realize you must be inside the parts and services room. But why though? Last thing you remember, you were lurking in Montgomery Gator's bedroom when Glam Rock Freddy caught you. You remembered how Freddy constricted you. Was he responsible of your situation? There were no traces of him anywhere, though. Only you inside the dome, until suddenly, you heard a robotic voice coming from the speakers. The voice welcomed you to the parts and services room, even if you were an intruder. You didn't know what to make of this, but the voice continued. It told you that you were in a very privileged position right now. You were about to undergo a very significant procedure that would change your life for the better. It was time for you to quote-unquote, follow the steps of a certain Gator, according to the voice. You wondered what this could mean. Could it be something related to Montgomery Gator? Perhaps amid the sea of doubts, you watched in awe as 4 mechanical arms descended from the ceiling, wondering what was it they were gonna do to you. You could feel the entire dome you were in vibrate as the arms moved around it. As you lay helplessly on the metallic table, your eyes darted around the room, desperately trying to find some form of escape. The mechanical arms still hovered above you, almost taunting you with their slow, deliberate movements. Your heart raced as you heard that robotic voice echo through the chamber once again. Montgomery Gator Reconstruction Process, beginning. Those words sent a chill down your spine. Reconstruction process, what the hell does that even mean? Before you could even process the statement, you heard a soft hum from above. Your attention snapped to the 4 mechanical arms that were now beginning to search through the scattered parts on the floor. Your breath quickened as they picked up various pieces that looked eerily familiar. One arm snatched a green, metallic yet reptilian leg, its sleek design glistening under the dim light, and another grabbed its matching counterpart. The third arm clutched what could only be described as Monty's torso. A brightly colored piece with a gray belt that matched the colors of the jeans portrayed in Monty's legs. And the last arm picked up his iconic chest, bearing that unmistakable yellow and green reptilian design. You watched in frozen terror as the arms started moving closer to you, each carrying a part of Montgomery Gator. You gasped, trying to break free from the strains that held you on the table, with no success. The first leg hovered ominously above you. It was huge, covered in green scales and spots. Your eyes widened as the machine arm moved it down to align with your own legs. You felt the cold metal against your skin as it placed the leg over yours, making you shudder. Slowly, the robotic arm attached Monty's leg over your own. You could feel the cool, snug embrace of the metal as the animatronic leg got accustomed with your real, human leg. It was a strange feeling, to say the least. Not only because of the sheer fact of it, but also because you were aware that something about Monty's leg was making you way taller than you originally were. The sensation was bizarre. It felt like standing on stilts, as though you had suddenly grown several inches taller. You tried to wiggle your toes, but all you saw were those sharp, purple animatronic claws. Despite the terror clawing at your mind, there was something strangely comfortable about it. The tightness around your legs felt secure, almost like wearing a perfectly fitted suit, only meant for you. The second mechanical arm moved in, bringing the other leg to your body. Just like before, it fused seamlessly with your other leg. The metallic clink echoed through the room as the 2 pieces connected with one another. You lifted your head just slightly, and in doing so, you realized how tall you had become. The table you were strapped to now seemed much smaller in comparison. Your feet, no, Monty's clawed feet dangled over the edge of the table, making it painfully obvious how much you had grown. You knew you had to get out as soon as possible. You had no idea what the machine's real intentions were. But unfortunately for you, the machine wasn't anywhere done with you yet. Next came the torso piece. It loomed over your chest like some massive, armored shell. The robotic arm lowered the piece down, and you could feel the cold metal brush against your chest. It wasn't just the feel of the metal, though it was the weight. You could feel the heavy bulk of Monty's torso settle into place over yours, pressing against you like a suit of armor. As the piece connected to your body, it began to mold itself to you, hugging your torso in an almost comforting way. Oddly enough, the sensation reminded you of Glam Rock Freddy's tight embrace, how he had held you close when constricting you, making it impossible to move. This was different, though. With each passing second, you felt more confined and yet more at ease. The plate slid into place with precision, wrapping around you like a second skin. The green, scaly texture now coated your entire upper body and torso, up to your neck, reconstructing you further into the towering figure of Montgomery Gator. By this point, it was very obvious what the machine was doing. It was transforming you into none other than Montgomery Gator. But despite the mounting confusion and fear, there was a part of you that found comfort in how snug everything felt, as if you were finally fitting into something you belonged in. Before you could even catch your breath, the arms moved once more. You watched, your breath quickening as they brought forth Monty's arms and hands. Massive, green-scaled limbs with purple shoulder pads and purple gloves identical to what you had seen Monty wear countless times. They were unmistakable. The arms lowered, and you felt the cold touch of metal encasing your arms. You winced as the parts snapped into place, binding themselves to you. You could feel the pressure as the pieces began to adjust to your frame. Your hands, once human, slowly disappeared beneath the larger, bulkier animatronic ones. Sharp claws replaced your fingers, and you flexed them instinctively, horrified by how easily they responded to your command. You didn't want to admit it, but they felt good. They felt powerful. You looked down at your hands in disbelief. The once warm, fleshy skin of yours was now encased in metallic green armor. You frowned as you saw the machine arms making progress while you were powerless. Why did this feel so right to you? You didn't want to admit it, but Monty's figure. Ahem. While confronting these conflicting thoughts, you felt another shift behind you. The last mechanical arm moved into place, carrying what could only be described as a large, scaly tail. Your breath hitched as it was positioned at the back of Monty's torso. You moved around, trying to make it harder for the arm to put the tail on you. But eventually, the tail clicked, and the moment it was connected, a wave of sensation shot through your body. The tail was heavy, but you could feel it, you could control it. You swayed it from side to side a bit, as much as you could while being on a metallic table, watching in disbelief as the long, reptilian appendage obeyed your every command. This was taken straight out of a nightmare. Even as you tried to calm down yourself, your eyes widened in horror as the last mechanical arm descended, carrying none other than Monty's iconic headpiece. It loomed in front of you, the familiar red mohawk and toothy grin staring back at you mockingly. This was it. No matter how hard you wanted to look away from the headpiece, you couldn't help but look at it intently. You could feel your heart pounding in your chest as the arm lifted it even closer to your face, as if taunting you. Almost as if it was telling you, this is what you are gonna become, be ready to rock it, letting you take in the final piece of the transformation. You muttered Monty's name, your voice weak, desperate. You tried to turn your head, tried to resist, but the restraints held you firmly in place. The headpiece inched closer, and you could see your reflection in Monty's sharp eyes. The realization hit you like a freight train. This wasn't just any regular nightmare. This was really happening. You were about to become Montgomery Gator. As the headpiece slid over your head slowly, almost as if the mechanical arms were savoring it, you felt the world around you go dark for a brief moment. The weight of it settled on your shoulders, pressing down as it locked into place. For a few seconds, there was only silence. They felt like hours to you though. Then, a flood of sensations. Your vision adjusted, flickering on like a screen rebooting. You could see again, but it wasn't through your human eyes. It was through Monty's. Your field of view expanded, sharper and more precise than before. Your voice, when you finally found the strength to speak, came out distorted, deeper, more robotic.
How? What the hell? My voice, the hell?
You desperately tried to break free from the strains that held you and your new body. With your new strength, it was far easier for you to break out of the bands. But just before you could, you heard the robotic voice speak one last time, confirming your fate.
Montgomery, Gator.
Although you were aware of the transformation during the procedure, nevertheless hearing the machine refer you by Monty was insane. It was at this moment when you unexpectedly tore the table's bands, the surprise making you fall to the ground, creating a large thud.
Ouch!
While still on the ground, one last mechanical arm inched towards you with a pair of star-shaped purple sunglasses, placing it on your eyes. You growled as you slowly stood up from the floor. You saw your reflection on one of the windows inside the dome. You were, of course, clearly astonished to see Monty instead of yourself.
I can't believe it. I am Montgomery, Gator. This can't be happening. I'm not this. Alligator, there has to be a way to get out of this.
You tried to tear the headpiece off, to rip this metallic prison from your body, but nothing budged, obviously. The pieces were made of metal, they felt like they were a part of you now, fused to your very being. No matter how much you pulled or clawed at yourself, you couldn't undo what had been done.
Dang it, everything is like glued to me. The only thing I can take off are these stupid sunglasses. But that doesn't help much. Liking Monty is one thing, but being him? Gosh, I need help, and quick. Maybe one of those security guards can help me. Yes, you'll explain everything to them.
While still getting used to your new weight and form, you managed to get out of the dome, in search of a security guard you could explain everything to. However, while navigating the parts and services room, you heard a familiar name calling out for you. Well, you're new you.
Monty, there you are. I'm so glad to have finally found you. You were lost for a few days, Monty, and we didn't know what to do.
Freddy, just what the hell have you done to me? Why have I been turned into Montgomery, Gator? You better explain to me what is happening and let me out as soon as possible.
Monty, are you all right? I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm glad you're doing fine. You look as sharp as ever, my friend.
What? You're not gonna even acknowledge how you put me inside the parts and services dome? Seriously? Like, come on, look at me. You think I like being Monty? It reeks of swamp in here.
Ha, I seriously do not know what you're talking about, Monty, but rest assured, you will soon get used to this. In fact, I even brought in your iconic electric guitar with me. Here, have it. Come on, let's go to a more uplifting place, okay?
My guitar, huh? There's something nice about holding it. I don't know what exactly, but it just fits me. I suppose I should thank you, Freddy.
As you both were heading towards Monty's Gator Golf, the setting and music of said place somehow made you feel at home more than ever before, especially now that you were Monty himself. If there was a sense of belonging before the procedure, now it was a sense of pride. Like this was your turf, and no one else had any right to tarnish it.
It's great having these walks with members of the band, am I right, Monty? Especially when it's a place as comforting as your golf course.
Monty, I already told you well, you damn right, Freddy. This is my place, and I won't let anyone harm it. I can actually make a name for myself around these parts, hey. Unlike before where I was just some random dude. You know what, Freddy, I like this sort of thing. Montgomery Gator is back, baby.
I'm glad you feel that way, Monty. I really am.
The two of you continued walking around Monty's golf course until it was finally time to return to your respective room. In the following days, weeks, months, everyone was glad to have Monty back, and you were really owning up to the name. Becoming Monty was quite exhausting for you, but fun. You finally had everything you wanted in your life, so why throw it away? It was time to embrace it. And I'm glad you feel like that. Hopefully, one of these days I can go visit you and check up. I really am interested in your new Monty life. Well, until then, my Gator friend.